Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're new, subscribe, like, and comment all down below. And so guys, today we're going to read more Marley. And so guys, we're going to continue on chapter 7, which is a lot left, 17 more chapters. But today we are going to read more Marley, 3 chapters every time. So yeah guys. So we are reading to chapter 11. Yeah. So guys, let's get started. I do not want to stop. Okay guys, let's get started. Okay, chapter 7. The things he ate. Before long, Jenny and I were expecting our first child. Marley would stop being the baby of the family, and we had to prepare him for the change. So every day we worked on his training. Now I was able to entertain our friends by yelling, "Incoming!" and watching Marley crash to the floor. All 4 limbs splayed. He always came on command, unless something caught his attention, such as other dogs, squirrel, butterfly, mailman, or floating weed seed. He always sat unless he felt like standing. He always healed unless there was something so tempting. It was worth strangling himself over, such as another dog, squirrel, butterfly. Well, you get the idea. Marley's training was coming along, but that didn't mean he was mellowing into a calm, well-behaved dog. If I told him and barked stern orders, he would obey. Marley still would obey. Sometimes he'd even do it eagerly, but Marley was still Marley, and Marley was incorrigible. A giant mango tree grew in our Florida backyard, and mangoes rained down to the ground. Marley could never eat enough. Each weighed a pound or more. They were so sweet, they could make your teeth ache. Marley would stretch out in the grass, anchor a ripe mango between his front paws, and remove every bit of flesh from the skin. It was as if he were performing surgery. He would hold the large pits in his mouth like lozenges. When he finally spit them out, they looked like they had been cleaned in an acid bath. There was not a speck of fruit left on them. Some days he would be out there for hours, frantically gobbling down mango after mango. When you eat lots of fruit, you get lots of poop. Soon our backyard was littered with piles of festively colored dog droppings. The one advantage to this was that it was nearly impossible to accidentally step in a heap of poop which glowed like orange traffic cones. Mangoes weren't the only item coming in the poop piles. Marley also ate other things, and these too came out the other end. I saw the evidence each morning. As I shoveled up his piles, here a shoelace, there was a rubber band, and one of the long load a mango soda bottle top, and another the gnawed cap up to a ballpoint pen. So that's where my comb went, I exclaimed one morning. Marley ate bath towels, sponges, socks, and used Kleenex. Handy wipes were one of his favorites. When they came out, they looked like a little blue flags, marking each floristic mango mountain. Not everything went down easily, and Marley vomited easily and often. Gack! When we heard the noises, we knew Marley had puked. By the time he rushed into the room, there would be another household item sitting in a puddle of half digested mangoes and dog chow. Marley never puked on the hardwood floors or even the kitchen linoleum. If he could help it, he always aimed for the fancy rug. Jenny and I decided that it would be nice to have a dog we could trust to be alone in the house. We were tired of locking him in the garage every time we stepped out. And as Jenny said, what's the point of having a dog if he can't greet you at the door when you get home? We began leaving him briefly while he ran to the store or dropped by a neighbor's house. When he behaved himself, he would push his black nose through the mini blinds and stare out the living room window waiting for us. When he hasn't behaved, he hid once we were gone for less than an hour. Marley was under the bed, and at his size, he really had to work to get under there. He looked like he'd just murdered the mailman. The house seemed fine, but he knew he was hiding some dark secret. Guilt radiated off him like heat off the sun. We walked from the room to room, trying to figure out what he had done wrong. Then I noticed that the foam cover to one of the stereo speakers were missing. He looked everywhere for it. It was gone without a trace. Marley nearly got away with it, but I found evidence of his guilt. When I went on a poop patrol the next morning, pieces of the speaker cover surfaced for days. During our next outing, Marley removed the woofer cone from the same speaker. The speaker wasn't knocked over. It wasn't out of place at all. The part was simply gone, as if someone had sliced it with a razor blade. Eventually, he got around to doing the same to the other speaker. Around time, he turned our four-legged footstool into a three-legged footstool. Now a single splinter was left. We swore it could never snow in South Florida, but one day we opened the front door to find a blizzard in the living room. The air was filled with soft white fluff floating down. We spotted Marley in front of the fireplace, half buried in a snowdrift, violently shaking a large feather pillow from side to side as though he had just captured an ostrich. For the most part, he accepted the damaged items get chewed, broken, or totally destroyed. One time, though, I was desperate. I was ready to do whatever it took to get what was mine, or Jenny's actually. For her birthday, I had bought Jenny an 18-karat gold necklace, a delicate chain with a tiny clasp. She immediately put it on. A few hours later, she pressed her hand to her throat. "My necklace!" she screamed. "It's gone!" "Don't panic," I told her. We haven't left the house. It's gotta be right here somewhere." We began scurrying the house room by room. As we searched, I gradually became aware that Marley was more rambunctious than usual. I straightened up and looked at him. He was squirming like a centipede. When he noticed I had him in my sights, he began evasive action. "Oh no," I thought the Marley Mambo. It could mean only one thing. "What's that?" Jenny asked, panic rising in her voice, hanging out of his mouth. It was a thin and delicate and gold. "Oh, shoot," I said. "Don't make any sudden moves," she ordered, her voice dropping to a whisper. We both froze. "Okay, boy, it's all right," I coaxed like a hostage narrator or on SWAT team. "We're not mad at you. Come on now. We just want the necklace back." Instinctively, Jenny and I began to circle him from opposite directions, moving as slowly as glaciers. It was as if he were wired with high explosives, and one false move could set him off. "Easy, Marley," Jenny said in her calmest voice. "Easy then. Now drop the necklace and no one gets hurt." Marley eyed us suspiciously. His head darted back and forth between us. He had him cornered, but he knew he had something he wanted. I could see him weighing his options. What did he want? A ransom, perhaps? I expected him to say, "Leave 200 unmarked milk bones in a plain paper bag, or you'll never see your precious little necklace again." "Drop it, Marley," I whispered, taking another small step forward. His whole body began to wag. I crept forward inch by inch. Jenny closed in from the side. We were within striking distance. We glanced at each other and knew without speaking what to do. We had been through this many times before. She would lunge the hind quarters, pinning his back legs to prevent escape. I would lunge for the head, preparing open his jaws and out in a matter of seconds. That was the plan, and Marley saw it coming. We were less than 2 feet away from him. I nodded to Jenny on there. I silently mouthed Marley through his head back and made a loud smacking sound. The tail end of the chain, which had been dangled out of his mouth, disappeared. "He's eaten it! He's eating it!" Jenny screamed. Together we dove at him. Jenny tackled him by the hind legs. I gripped him in a headlock, forced his jaws open, and pushed my whole hand into his mouth and down his throat. I probed every flap and cervix, but came up empty. "It's too late," I said. He swallowed it. "Cough it up," Jenny yelled, slapping him on the back. "Brr," Marley answered. Marley may have won the battle, but we knew it was just a matter of time before he won the world war. Nature's call was on our side. Sooner or later, what went in had to come out. I knew if I poked through his poop long enough, I would find it. It was disgusting, thought, but grossed out or not, I was going in, and so I prepared Marley's his favorite laxative, a giant bowl of sliced mangoes. Then I settled in for the long wait. For 3 days, I followed him around every time. I let him out eagerly, waiting to swoop in with my shovel, instead to tossing his paws over the fence. Fully, I placed each on a wide board in the grass. I poked in with a tree branch, while I sprayed with a garden hose. The poop washed away in the grass. Anything that wasn't poop stayed behind. I felt the gold miner coming up with a treasure trove of swallowed junk, from shoelaces to guitar picks, but no necklace. Where was it? Shouldn't it have come out by now? I began wondering if I had missed it accidentally, washing it into the grass. If I had, it would remain lost forever. But how could I miss a 20-inch gold chain? On the fourth day, my patience paid off. I scooped up Marley's latest deposit. I can't believe it. I'm doing this, I said. I began poking and spraying as the poop melted away. I searched for any sign of the poop of the necklace. Nothing. Nothing. I was about to give up when I spotted something odd, a small brown lump about the size of a lima bean. It was even close to being large enough to be missing jewelry, yet clearly it did not seem to belong there. I pinned it down with my probing branch and gave a strong blast of a hose nozzle as the water washed it clean. I got a glimmer of something exceptionally bright and shiny. Eureka! I had struck gold. The necklace was much smaller than I would have guessed possible. It was as much some unknown alien power had sucked it into a mysterious dimension of space in time before spitting it out again. And actually, that was too far from the truth. Was strong. The strong stream of water began to loosen the hard wad, and gradually the lump of gold unraveled back to its original shape, untangled and unmangled, good as new. No, actually better than new. I looked it inside to show Jenny where it had been. We both marveled at how blindingly bright it was now, far more dazzling than when it had gone in. Marley's stomach acids had done an amazing job. It was the most brilliant gold I ever seen. Man, I said with a whistle, we should open a jewelry cleaning business. It's got possible, Grogan, Jenny said, and went off to disinfect her recovered birthday present. She wore the gold chain for years. Every time I looked at it, I had the same vivid flashback. My stick and I had gone where no man had ever gone before, and none should ever go again. Chapter 8. The Dog's Gotta Go. By 1993, Marley wasn't the only one keeping us on our toes. We now also had by 1993, Marley wasn't the only one keeping us on our toes. We now also had two human babies, Patrick and Connor. We rarely slept through the night, and Jenny spent days keeping the boys happy between their demands and Marley's antics. She was exhausted. Eventually, Marley's bad behavior just wasn't funny anymore. One day, I opened the front door to find Jenny crying uncontrollably and yelling at Marley. Why? Why do you do this? Jenny screamed at him. Why do you wreck everything? In the instant I saw what he had done, the couch cushion was God's open, the fabric shedded, and the the pounding on him was her fist, more like she had beating a Kendall drum, then trying to hurt him. Marley stood with head down and legs spread. He looked as though he were leading into a hurricane. He didn't try to flee or dodge the blows. He just stood there and took each one without a whimper or complaint. "Hey, hey, hey!" I shouted, grabbing Jenny's wrist. "Come on, stop, stop!" She was sobbing and gasping for breath. "Stop," I repeated. I stepped back between her and Marley and shoved my face directly in front of hers. It was like a stranger was staring back at me. I did not recognize the look in her eyes. "Get him out of here," she said, the voice flat and tinged with a quiet burn. "Get him out of here now." "Okay, I'll take him out," I said. "But you settle down. Get him out of here and keep him out of here," she said. I opened the front door and he bounded outside. When I turned back to grab his leash off the table, Jenny said, "I mean it. I want him gone. I want him out of here for good. Come on." I said, "You don't mean that." "I mean it," she said. "I'm done with that dog. You'll find him a new home, or I will." Jenny couldn't mean it. She loved this dog. She adored him despite his long list of shortcomings. She was upset. She was stressed to the breaking point. She would reconsider, wouldn't she? One thing was clear. She needed time to cool down. I walked out the door without another word to the front yard. Marley raced around, jumping into the air and snapping his jaws, trying to bite the leash out of my hands. He was his old jolly self. I knew Jenny hadn't hurt him. I whacked him much harder when I played rough with him. He loved it and always bounded back for more. He was unstoppable machine, or muscle and strength that barely felt pain. Once, when I was in the driveway washing the car, he jammed his head into the bucket of soapy water, and he galloped blindly off across the front lawns with the bucket and crashed full force into a concrete wall. It didn't seem to faze him, even though he was a big defense oaf. Marley did have an incredibly sensitive streak. If someone got angry and slapped him lightly on the rump, or even just spoke to him with a stern voice, he acted deeply wounded. Jenny hadn't hurt Marley physically, not even close, but she had crushed his feelings. One of his two best pals in the whole world had just turned on him. She had crushed his feelings. One on his two best pals in the whole world. Her faithful companion. He figured that if she needed to strike him, he needed to suck it up and take it. As far as dogs went, he was not good as much, but he was unquestionably loyal. Now it was my job to repair the damage and make things right again. Out on the street, I hooked him on the leash. "Sit," I ordered. He sat. I pulled the choke chain up high. on his throat in preparation for our walk. Before he stepped off, I ran my hand over his head and messaged his neck. He flipped his nose in the air and looked at me, his tongue hanging halfway down his neck. He had forgotten all about that had happened with Jenny. I hoped she had too. "What am I going to do with you, you big dope?" I asked him. He leaped straight up, as though he had springs on his paws, and smashed his tongue against my lips. Marley and I walked for miles that evening, and when I finally opened the front door, he was exhausted and ready to collapse quietly in the corner. Jenny was feeding Patrick a jar of baby food as the cradled Connor in her lap. She was calm. Woo! I thought. Back to her old self. I unleashed Marley, and he took a huge drink of water, slooshed like little tidal waves over the side of his bowl. I toweled up the floor and stole a glance in Jenny's direction. She didn't seem upset at all. Maybe the horrible moment had passed. Maybe she'd had reconsidered. Maybe she felt sheepish about her outburst and was searching for the words to apologize. I walked past her with Marley close at my heels. "I'm dead serious," she said without looking at me. "I want him out of here." I was not ready to give up Marley to make Jenny happy. I started looking for a new home for him. At the same time, I began the most serious training Marley had ever gotten. My own private missions. Impossible was to rehabilitate his dog and prove to Jenny he was worthy. I began rising at dawn with Patrick in the jogging stroller. I headed down to the water to put Marley through the paces. Sit,